welcome. I'm going to do my best Tiffany impersonations, even though she has a lot more energy than me. So no, grateful that y'all were able to come and join with me about operations management. So this is the How to Construct Operations Manuals. I'm Stacie Goodman. And let's see if we can continue here. Okay, here we go. So in Empower People standards, we get to say the oath together to start us off. So you can say along with you if you want. I, Stacie Goodman, do solemnly swear to accept the lifelong obligation to hone my superhero powers and apply those superhero powers to the good of the people I serve. I will promote and add to the ongoing success of Empower People, its members, and the people, organizations, and communities it serves. And I will help prepare the next generation of superheroes. I'm driven to be a positive change agent for those I serve and interact with. And since we all get to be superheroes, we take the oath. So what are we going to learn about today? Hopefully we'll give you some good information on why it's important to have an operations manual. What are the benefits, the components, how to make sure it's successfully used, and some of the best practices for maintaining it, because it is a live document, a living organism that will need to be nourished and cherished. And as you mature, it matures. So let's see. All right, so who am I? If you haven't met me before, I think I've seen Jennifer once. Leanne, I haven't met before. So my name is Stacie Briley Goodman. I am the owner and founder of Origamic Solutions. We are a small business education advisory and consulting firm. We focus on operations management and helping our clients level up with love, meaning we co-pilot right beside you, identifying problem points, developing solutions, and also helping small businesses go through the business maturity life cycle. And that includes utilizing our impact methodology, where we help you build your infrastructure, or at least identify it, measurements that you need to put in place to understand the performance and the health of your company, putting plans for improvements and growth in place, and then any action or sorry, I've lost my action plans, and then transitioning into controls and transparency, so that bring you up into the data side of house. So we take the whole life cycle of a business and help out there. I am a certified Empower People business advisor. I serve on the council as well as the advisory board. And
yes, sir.
I have 25 years of consulting experience.
They'll be there till 5.
There you go. And a Six Sigma certification. So that's my spiel about me. So let's go ahead and get started with the benefits of an operations manual. So there are different manuals that are important for business to have, and sometimes they can get commingled. The one that we're going to talk about today is the operations manual, which is separate from your training plan or training manual, and separate from your employee manual. The employee manual focuses really on your HR specific activities and policies. The training manual is very specific to job, like a job book. It explains the role and what tactically you need to do within a specific role. Operations management manual is a broader look, and I look at it as the Bible of your company. So you want to have all of your information centralized in one location. So in the olden days, we used to have the big 3-ring binders. Everybody had a copy. Now you can put that onto a team site or a shared drive where it's all accessible to your team. And so then we have that way the transparency is there. If there's a question, it is available. People can look at it. They can answer their own questions about the company, about the processes, about the roles, things of that nature. We're going to go over in a minute. It's used as a knowledge exchange, so you can use it primarily for onboarding new team members, but also for cross training. It is also a knowledge exchange that's great for if you're going to bring a consultant in. We need to get to know your business as fast as we can. A lot of times, the operations manual will be the first thing I ask for because it helps me to get a better grounding into your process, your procedures, your policies, your people, and what your company is even about. Not just what it does or services, but why it does it. So what it also does is by having the knowledge exchange, it helps to make sure you don't have any bottlenecks. So what we call intrinsic knowledge, somebody that's been in their role for a long period of time, they understand how to do their job. But if they were to leave unexpectedly or in a planned manner, this is one way to make sure that everything that's in their head is on paper. So that you don't risk losing that knowledge and education and experience. So then we have trust and security, both internally and externally. So that factor is associated to preventing disruption. If you have a business continuity plan, that can be a separate document or it could be part of your manual. But what it does in having everything centralized in the manual, it allows you to have a place to go if something goes wrong. What's our policy if the power goes out or if there's a snowstorm? What is the policy if we have a breach in our data systems or Microsoft goes out, it's not available. What's my backup plan? So that's one of the pieces. The other is it helps to foster trust in the company because the more transparent and vulnerable you are with your employees to a point, there are break points, the more that they can build that trust because repeatability breeds security. And if I understand what I can expect, then I feel comfortable with how I perform. So the other is it fosters alignment. So you start out with your strategy documents, right? Your business strategy. You want to make sure your operations are aligning with your business strategy. And if you start to do something that doesn't align, then this would be the opportunity where you would identify that, hopefully. So it just keeps everybody focused and going in the right direction. It also enables the delegation of work. So as small business owners, we take on a lot of roles and responsibilities as we grow our business. If you don't have things documented, it's very difficult to transition that over to somebody else. This day and age, it doesn't have to be on paper. It actually can be on video. We get a lot of YouTube, and we're in my old age, we used to go to the library and we would check out books and read articles and things of that nature. Now you just go to YouTube and you listen to a video like you're doing today. And that helps to also transition information, and it allows you then to train up somebody and delegate that work down. And then it prepares your team for growth. So it has inside of it an organizational structure. It shows all the potential places, roles that a person could have. It also, we can include career paths. We can include roles and responsibilities and expectations through our RACI diagrams, things of that nature. It helps the end user to understand and not be siloed into their own department. It understands the connectivity between the departments with a high level process flow. So they understand that they are a customer to somebody, and they are a supplier to somebody, and they want you treat each other as that customer supplier relationship, giving the quality that the receiver needs as it goes down the path. As far as I skipped one, going back to trust and security externally. Investors want to know that the business is structured. If you're going to license your company, or you're going to create a franchise, or either you're looking for investment through a loan, through a private investor, if you have your operations manual, it shows the dedication and the clarity and the knowledge exchange. It gives them a little bit more faith that you have your business together and you're functioning in a way that can be audited. They can monitor and potentially identify how they can help beyond just the funding. So moving on, click the right buttons. There we go. So we talked about the centralized, why it's also beneficiary. I'm working with a client now. We're utilizing this to help onboard her client, her new staff, and it's going well. It's opened beyond. One of her colleagues gave us a copy of their operations manual, which was more of a training manual. So by walking her through the first section of the manual, which is the purpose and the company overview, it helped to parlay the information about her company to potential new hires to see if this was a good fit for them. It also helped her to start articulating the mission and the vision and why she's different than other people in her industry. So it, like I said before, it fosters cross-functional awareness. It opens up the minds and the vision of what various employees can see of how the business works as a whole and how they fit into that business. Change management, continuous process improvements. If you have something that's already documented, then it's a lot easier to identify when you make a change what those impact points are. And you can print out a copy and make a mark there. And then that way, when you have to introduce that change, you already have anticipated what the response might be from the audience receiving that change. So if it's a simple software change, that might be one thing. If it's a big change, we're introducing something significant, a new product, a new service, a new department, we're changing roles and responsibilities or restructuring, those need more change management. They need to ready your, we call it business readiness, making sure that the recipients are ready to accept that change. So having the manual and being able to see specifically where the impact points would be is extremely helpful. Sale of the company or investment support, again, external people. If you're going to license and franchise, so licensing, you want to create a repeatable model that you can show as dependable. It's worth somebody purchasing it. The franchising model is you're building, it's kind of like McDonald's. You're building a system that if repeated, will be successful. And with McDonald's as an example, if you don't follow their system, then they will pull your franchise because they want that same customer experience, and that model's already proven. So one of the things with small businesses, even if you're just starting out, and I like the book, The World's Greatest Small Business by Michael Gerber. He starts to open up your mindset to look at your business as, if I was going to build 10,000 of these, whatever it was, I'm going to service 10,000 clients. I'm going to have 10,000 locations. I'm going to, write 10,000 books. Think of that as in a repeatable structure and process. And how would you enable that? You need systems, processes, and repeatability. So the operations manual is the first step in establishing that songbook that everybody's going to sing from. So, like I said, it's the Bible, the hymnal, whatever. It's songbook that everybody is on the same page. So operations manuals are sometimes called playbooks. You'll hear that interchangeably. You hear it also counter references to sports with the playbook. This is how the playbooks in sports, or the different plays, are equivalent to the different processes and the different structures that you would have when you're, who's on the field for this particular process. So what roles and responsibilities are engaged. So you'll see that as a collection of knowledge that everybody knows where they belong, and how they impact the overall success of the company. Experience, so you can tell stories and culture. People want to know how the business came to be. So the experience, or the background of how it came from the founder all the way through to where it is, and its growth and expansion. And then, of course, your structures. And so those could be different things. You can put into the operations manual whatever you want. So it has a basic structure like vanilla ice cream. And then you can put in the different flavors. And you can, end up with all kinds of different pieces, but there's some basics, and then you can add in. So customers you serve, you may choose to put some of your marketing information into your operations manual. That includes your buyer personas. It includes your own personal brand persona, those types of things to help convey consistency in your brand messaging. You may put cultural components in there. If you're a Christian, maybe a faith-based company, you may have a moment of silence as part of your starting and ending your meetings, and that's just part of your culture. And so you explain that in there. Then you have your structures, roles, and responsibilities, which are basics across the board. Okay. So what are the components? These are the basics framework that at least a successful operations manual should have. So the first section is your profile, and that is your company story, its history, mission, values. So why are you doing the work, and getting everybody on board of why they are there, why the company exists, what are, is considered, I guess, definitions of success, right? If we're there to service our community, we're there to make people educate, etc. What are those verbs, and how do you define success there? The second is your people. So that is your organizational chart. I would recommend small businesses think broader and bigger than your current state. You don't have to. You can start with the current state, because this is a living document. It would just be modified as you continue to grow. But if you have your vision, and that's part of you can be part of your profile. I actually have one of my clients. She has her vision board, is part of that pictorial document, as part of her operations manual, because she wants to convey to the new members in her team where the company is going to be going, and what's important there. So if in your people part, if you want to think broader of, if I were to have, multiple sites, or multiple do all the things that I envision I would want to do with this company, what would that require? You always have your basics. You have your sales and marketing, you have your operations, and then you have your administration, which has your HR, your finance, and anything else that goes along with, that's all the catch-alls. So you should at least have those three different departments, and then you can break everything down from there. You want to also be able to present a career path, so that young people coming in know that they have somewhere to go and stay. They're just not going to get stuck. So even if you don't have people actively in that role, go ahead and put them on the organizational chart. And then that's the other part, that it starts to help the owner know, who do I need to hire next? because Stacie is listed in 6 different roles. I'm the IT person, the finance person, the marketing person, the ops person. I can't do all of these things forever. So, okay, I need to strategically know that I need to go look for this next role, or an executive assistant to help me. The policies. So, what are the rules and norms? These are things that are important to you. If it is important that the people in your team wear a certain uniform, or they don't use their cell phones. I'm thinking of, like, my son is going through EMT training. They have very distinct uniforms. They've already been told, even the seniors in high school right now, you need to learn to get off your cell phone, because if you're a firefighter or EMT, you don't have time for that right now. We're saving lives. We got things to do. And it's getting certain behaviors and expectations communicated. These can be written in what I call unwritten expectations. Sometimes an unwritten or unspoken expectation, which should be documented, is I expect everybody to show up at 8:30 in the morning, and you work until 5. Other companies have very flexible work schedules. And so you need to be able to convey what some of those are. Others might be regulatory, legislative, compliance related. If you're in manufacturing or construction, you must wear steel-toed shoes. You have to wear certain safety gear. So putting those forth, if you're in a healthcare situation, so one of my clients does mental health, they have a policy where the people training someone, they can't give a ride home to that. They can arrange for a ride, but they can't physically, take the person to another location. They're just boundaries that have to be maintained. And that's part of that industry. So these are the types of things you would put in the policy area. The next is the end-to-end process flows. So this is a picture. And if you, it could have like little squares or rectangles that tell you the big components and how they flow or connect through the process. And if you've seen my process 101, you'll understand. But it's a high level diagram. It goes from the beginning of the company, from say the initial sale intake of a customer or a lead, all the way through how do you take care of that customer till the end of that life cycle. It also would show interdependencies of support functions such as accounting and finance, or customer service representation, or legal, asset management, those types of things that are not specific to the customer's journey or the customer care journey, but they are support systems to the business. So for each of those blocks on that picture, then you would have your processes, which are step-by-steps of how to do something. It can be what's, meaning you, what's a good example? If I was going to do a process on a restaurant, I clear it, after the customers leave, you clear the table, you set the table, you make sure that you clean around the table and wipe off all the chairs. You reset the tables, a new tablecloth, you put on new dishes, you put on new silverware, you make sure the candle's lit if it's a nice restaurant. Those are all what's, and those would be in your step to steps. Now, if you have a procedure of a how to do something where I need to key something in. You key into the system. You make a printout. You put the printout in the file folder. You put the file, in the cabinet if it's something manual of that nature. Or I code them into the system. I make sure I put a copy into the Microsoft Teams, site. Those type, if it's a more in a electronic based system, those are the what's. And then the how to would be in your training manual. Now you can commingle the training manual with the operations manual if you choose, but the how to is where the training is. It's the step-by-step. Click here, enter this code into this field, down to that nitty-gritty repeatability. It's up to you to what degree you want to identify the depth of detail on the processes. The last piece is also, before I go to the inventory, the other part of processes is decision trees. When do you need to get approvals? When do you need to escalate up to executive leadership for a decision? What are those breaking points? Sometimes there are processes that say a division administrator cannot sell a piece of, or hire a company for a project that's greater than $5,000. If so, then they need to escalate and get approval from, the director, the chief. Those are the types of escalation points and piece decision trees you want to make sure are included. The final piece is the inventory of systems. It is a log of all the technical support systems that you have, where they are used, what processes are they used for, are they cloud-based, are they on the computer-based, or are they web applications? It just gives, the more details you can give about them. Sometimes I even include, are they annual fees, or are they monthly, user, like fees by user? So you capture the cost breakdown on that. It is designed so that we know if we're going to take sometimes it's the data, what key pieces of data are you collecting, are you in that system? And the reason for it is if you decide to change systems or sunset or discontinue a system, you want to understand the impact point of that system on the rest of the business for making that choice. So this gives you your people, your process, your tools, your data, your policies, and your why, all in one big centralized location. And that answers probably the majority of the questions about a business when I'm going in, to try to start to help, other than their pain point. Okay. Did I go too many? Oops. Okay, one more. There we go. So what makes it successful? Accessibility. If you can't get to it, it is a paperweight, and it's going to collect dust on the shelf. So it can be in hard copy. It can be on a mobile device, through Teams or through a shared server. It just needs to be accessible to everyone. It needs to be searchable. So having it now, in Microsoft Word, or if you break it down in other applications, Google Docs, whatever it is, you want to just make sure that you have searchability for keywords. Collaborative. Have everybody, as many people as you can in your business, be a part of the creation and the maintenance. It gives them buy-in. It makes them feel a sense of ownership to it. And then they get also a voice as to what they actually do versus what you think they do. And that happens in bigger companies. Oh, I didn't realize you did that. Oh, I don't understand that process. I didn't know that happened. And sometimes that happens when a process crosses multiple divisions or multiple departments. So if you can have that collaboration, that will help a lot with the adoption of the operations manual. Instructive. Use it as a training manual. Keep it in people's faces. Bring it back up if things changed. Have those people who are impacted maybe participate in updating the manual, because they want to, you want to make sure that if they have to train someone else, the most recent information is there. That is one of the biggest things when I go into some mid-size companies is, yes, they did this exercise. No, they haven't updated it in 5 years. And then we have to go back to the beginning and validate what is true and what is not true. Fluid is just your company is going to grow and it's going to change. So just know that it's a living document and that you're going to continue to add more, and some things you'll stop doing and you will need to remove those elements from the manual. As structured is just, it stays in the same format so that people know where to go. And then trackable, there should be some sense of accountability around who's in charge of making sure that the operations manual is updated. And that could be your COO, it could be the business owner themselves, it could be somebody within the team. But if you can keep it up to date and you can include lots of people and make it easily accessible and searchable, then it will be a winner. So when do you start? You can start at any time. Is if you're a visionary type person and you can think ahead and you want to just build it as an initial structure and then refine it, you can start before you even grow. Just as you go through your business. The mission, the vision, your core values, your future state or where you would like to be, your organizational structure. Those are all pieces you can do even as a solo entrepreneur. Once you get about 3 to 5 people, you really need to start putting in the process documentation. But what you don't want to do, we'll get to this in a minute, is you want to be smart about what you put in for the process documentation. You want to make sure it works. If you put something in that, well, I sort of kind of do it this way, and you don't have it stabilized yet, then it's probably best to hold off on putting it in there. You can put a placeholder for the name, like a process inventory of things I do. So I have an inventory of all the finance activities. I do invoicing, I do accounts receivable, I do payroll, I do marketing, social media, newsletter, whatever it is. You can put an inventory of all those things and then go back in and put the processes as they've matured up enough to be stable. But 3 to 5, now you're starting to need to be clear and share information. So why do you need this playbook right now? You may be opening a new location. So you're wanting to create a repeatable experience from the location that you're in. You may be wanting to increase your sales. So you need to look at how performance is based. What are the processes for sales, because I need to hire a new salesperson. You may be planning to sell your business at some point in time. This is where the investment, or you're going to get a loan. You want to go ahead and at least have something in place. And the other is to control your culture. You want to be clear on your why. You want to make sure that everybody's bought in, and because if you don't control it, it'll control you. So some best practices for maintenance. Yes, it is good to have the documentation, have things written out, but videos are much more fun and interactive. So that's a newer place. You can use fun images, screenshots, audio, text, memes, anything to make the book interesting. And generally, if it's all words and a narrative, that's sort of boring and your audience is not necessarily going to absorb it. When you have some type of visualization, a picture that corresponds to the narrative, it brings the story to life. Having even having videos of somebody who's been in the business for a while or the owner explaining, like you could still have the narrative of the history, but having them do the speaking on that makes it more easy for the consumer to connect to that person and get emotionally involved into your business. You want to make sure you reflect your brand persona, your values. Those are your cores to your messaging, and you want consistent messaging across the board with everybody that works in your company, and you want your values to be consistently displayed through their interactions with your customers. So making sure that that's there. We talked about collaboration earlier. There's a lot of things that as a small business owner, you're just trying to keep up with what's going on, and you may not even realize that somebody made a process improvement in one of your groups, which is great, particularly if you've implemented a continual process improvement culture. But you need to rely on other people to contribute into that information, because you can't keep up with everything if you own it all by yourself. And then I was always taught, learn your role from the bottom up, and learn. So even your managers know how to actually execute everything that the people below them know how to do. And they may or may not be asked to do it on a regular basis, but you do need to be able to jump in and help them as needed. So making sure you have a bottoms up and a top down view that correlate and that can be referenced in the event that they need to, a manager needs to jump back into a tactical role. Only documented if it's the right way. That was what I was speaking of earlier. Let the process mature out to know, this is the right way of doing it. Sometimes we learn through our failures and we make improvements along the way. Wait till you feel stable, then put it in the document or into the operations manual. And then prioritizing which ones need to be done. It's if you need to delegate it, or if it's something that's done consistently, focus on that. If it's a one-off, I do it once a year. It's a specialty. You might deprioritize those just to make sure you get the bang for the buck. Okay. So having systems, it gives that equality and fairness. Again, this is about vulnerability and transparency. If you already know what's going on, you understand why it's there, and why, and yes, fairness is a feeling, and it can be touchy. Sometimes what one person feels is fair, somebody else may not, but at least it's transparent, and you're understanding where people stand and why they're doing the work they're doing. So I've heard a lot of times colleagues or clients, they'll fuss about another coworker. And most of the time, it's because there's a lack of understanding of why that coworker is doing what they're doing. They've been given direction that wasn't communicated to the other party. And so there's some gaps in that knowledge base. This doesn't help solve everything in that nature, but it does give you a reference point to fill in the blanks, and then regularly update it. Like I said, if there's branding changes, policy changes, anything that changes, basically make sure you're going in and updating it frequently and on a regular basis, and then notifying everyone that changes have been made. There's what's also recommended in the front of the document is a change log, a version log, and you put in the version log what those changes were and the dates it was made. That way people can understand and quickly identify. They don't have to read through the whole book to try to figure out what went different. So in summary, like I said, you can create and control your culture. And if you don't want to do that, it will create and control itself. And it may not be what you intended for the business. It can create a life of its own. So this playbook gives you guardrails. It gives you consistency and continuity and connection between the people to understand who's doing what, why this is being done, making sure it aligns to your values and your mission, and to your strategies, so you don't go off on a detour. And again, the repeatability helps you if you're going to license, franchise, or even want to just treat your your company as if it were, so that you get systemization. Once you start to systemize your processes, then you have the opportunity to start automating them. But if you automate too early, before you've stabilized a base model of manual process, if you automate too early, you're going to possibly open yourself to getting bad data and bad information out because it didn't get built before it stabilized. So yeah, take your time, because it is a living document. It is not something that's going to be built overnight. I can't build one in 6 weeks unless you already have every single part and you just need somebody to compile it together for you. It is a growing, and you will mature as a business owner as you go through thinking through each of these parts, because it's not something that we think about every single day. We're in the active business of doing and building our companies. This is an exercise sometimes for the business owners of how do I convey, this is how I want it done, and this is why I want it done. And then I'm going to be able to put in some type of measurements around to evaluate the performance is meeting expectations, or is still stays in alignment with processes. Humans will take the path of least resistance. And so I see a lot of times in my clients where something it feels it's a pain point, so they'll create a workaround. Oh, I created my own Excel for that, or I did this, I wrote this down on this piece of paper over here. And so the processes change from person to person, and that is very difficult to monitor and manage. So that's when you get them back together and you figure out what was broken. You do a process improvement initiative in that segment, and then you update the process, the manual to reflect that. So that is my overview. I want to leave enough some time for questions, so we are at that point. Ladies, you have the floor.
Hey, sorry.
That's okay.
Very good presentation.